The polished glass doors of Sterling Industries had witnessed a parade of nannies, each arriving with impeccable credentials and leaving within days, tears streaming down their faces. 23 in 6 months. The record stood as a testament to the impossible. No one could tame Meredith Sterling's twin daughters. Standing outside the 37th floor corner office, Marcus Chen gripped his cleaning cart tighter. At 42, life had taught him that survival meant keeping your head down and your expectations lower. Single father to an 8-year-old son, he'd learned to find dignity in honest work after his wife's death 3 years ago. The night shift janitor position paid the bills, kept Tommy in a good school, and asked nothing more than his time and effort. He expected nothing from the wealthy executives whose offices he cleaned. They barely noticed him anyway. But tonight was different. Tonight, chaos had erupted on the executive floor. Through the glass walls, Marcus could see Meredith Sterling pacing, phone pressed to her ear, her usually immaculate appearance frayed at the edges. On the leather couch, 2 6-year-old girls sat with crossed arms and identical scowls. The coffee table was overturned. Papers littered the floor like snow. A potted orchid lay sideways, soil spilling across the cream carpet. Marcus had seen the woman who'd run past him 20 minutes ago, nanny number 24, mascara running, designer handbag swinging wildly as she stabbed at the elevator button. He'd heard the words she'd hissed into her phone, "Those children are demons. I don't care how much she's paying. He should walk away. This wasn't his business." His job was to clean offices after everyone left, not to involve himself in the private disasters of billionaires. But something made him pause, perhaps the memory of his own son after Sarah died, angry and hurt and lashing out at a world that had stolen his mother. Perhaps it was the exhaustion he recognized in Meredith Sterling's shoulders, the universal slump of a parent at the end of their rope. The twins had spotted him. 2 pairs of eyes, sharp and calculating, locked onto his face. One whispered to the other. They were forming a plan, he could tell. He'd seen that look on Tommy's face when his son was deciding whether to test a boundary. Marcus knocked softly, then pushed his cart into the office. Meredith Sterling whirled around, her expression flickering between hope and suspicion. "The cleaning crew isn't supposed to be here until midnight." "I know, ma'am. I heard the commotion. Thought you might want the mess cleared sooner rather than later." He began collecting the scattered papers, moving with practiced efficiency. "Another one quit," she said flatly, gesturing at her daughters. "That's Sophia and that's Emma. They've decided that making nannies quit is their new hobby." Marcus glanced at the girls. Sophia, he guessed, was the one with the barely visible paint stain on her collar. Emma had tucked her left foot under her right leg. Different tells, same defiance. What did they do this time? Meredith let out a harsh laugh. "Where do I start?" They told her their previous nanny had disappeared mysteriously. They put fake spiders in her purse. When she tried to give them dinner, they said she was trying to poison them and screamed until security came. "Sounds creative," Marcus said mildly, righting the coffee table. "Creative." Meredith's voice rose. "It's unacceptable. I've tried everything, therapists, reward systems, punishment, different approaches. Nothing works. I'm out of options." Marcus carefully replanted the orchid, pressing soil around its roots. "Mind if I ask them a question?" Meredith made a helpless gesture. "Be my guest. You'll have the same luck everyone else has had." He walked over to the couch and crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with the twins. Up close, he could see what others might miss, the shadows under their eyes, the tension in their small shoulders. "So I heard you two are pretty good at making people leave," he said conversationally. "That takes skill, planning, teamwork." They stared at him, waiting for the lecture, the anger. When it didn't come, Sophia spoke. "You're the janitor." "That's right, Marcus. I clean the offices at night." "Why are you talking to us?" Emma demanded. "Adults don't talk to us. They talk at us." "That sounds lonely." The simple observation hung in the air. Sophia's mouth opened, then closed. Emma's defiant expression wavered. "Your mom seems really tired," Marcus continued. "I bet you are too. Being angry all the time is exhausting, isn't it?" "We're not angry," Sophia said, but her voice cracked. "Okay. What are you then?" The twins looked at each other, having one of those silent conversations that only siblings can have. Finally, Emma whispered, "We just want mom to stay home." "But she's always working. Always busy." The nannies aren't mom. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. There it was, the heart of it all. Not malice. Not cruelty. Just two little girls trying to control the one thing they could control, fighting in the only way they knew how. I get it, he said softly. When my son Tommy's mom died, he used to break his toys. Not because he was bad, but because he was hurting and didn't know how to say it. He thought maybe if he broke enough things, I'd have to stop working and stay home to fix them. What did you do? Sophia asked, her voice smaller now. I told him the truth. That I had to work so we could eat and have a home. But that every single minute I was working, I was thinking about him. That he was the most important thing in my whole world, even when I couldn't be there. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes. Mom has to work too. Yeah, she does. Running a big company, that's a lot of responsibility. But you know what? I bet she thinks about you every single minute, just like I think about Tommy. She does. Meredith's voice came from behind him, thick with emotion. She crossed the room and knelt beside her daughters. I do. Every meeting, every decision, I'm thinking about you too. About making sure you're safe and happy and have everything you need. We need you, Sophia said, and suddenly both girls were crying, launching themselves into their mother's arms. Marcus stood up quietly, giving them space. He returned to his cart and began cleaning up the remaining mess as the Sterling family held each other. Some moments were too sacred for outsiders. 20 minutes later, as he was finishing up, Meredith approached him. Her eyes were red, but her expression was clearer than it had been when he arrived. Thank you, she said. I've had experts, people with degrees in child psychology, and none of them saw what you saw in 5 minutes. Marcus shrugged. I'm not an expert. Just a dad who's been in the trenches. The girls asked if you could come back tomorrow. Before I get home from work. She paused. I know it's not your job, but I'll pay you whatever you need. They need someone who understands them. He thought about it. About Tommy waiting at home with the neighbor. About the bills that never seemed to stop coming. About two little girls who just wanted their mother's attention. I don't want your money, Ms. Sterling, he said finally. But I'll make you a deal. I'll spend an hour with them after school a few times a week, just until they're settled. In exchange, you leave work at 5 o'clock those days. No exceptions. They need you there too. Meredith's eyes widened. You're negotiating with me. Someone has to. He smiled. Kids need consistency and love, not expensive solutions. They need to know they matter more than any business deal. For a long moment, she studied him. Then she extended her hand. Deal. But Marcus, I insist on paying you. Your time has value. They shook on it. Over the next 3 months, Marcus became an unexpected fixture in the Sterling household. He brought Tommy along sometimes, and the 3 children formed an unlikely alliance. He taught the twins card games and helped with homework. He listened when they talked about school, about their fears, about missing the father who'd left before they could remember him. And Meredith kept her promise. She left work at 5, put her phone away, and was present. Really present. The transformation wasn't immediate or magical. There were still bad days, still tantrums and tears. But slowly, the anger that had armored the twins began to melt. They stopped seeing nannies as enemies and started accepting help. They stopped testing every boundary because they finally felt secure within them. 6 months after that chaotic night, Marcus arrived at the Sterling building to find Meredith waiting in the lobby. Beside her stood her daughters, beaming. We wanted to give you something, Emma said, thrusting a carefully wrapped package at him. Inside was a framed photo, the twins, Meredith, Tommy, and Marcus at the park, all of them laughing. Across the bottom, in careful 6-year-old handwriting, our family. You showed me that the best solutions aren't always the expensive ones, Meredith said quietly. That sometimes what children need most is simple human kindness and someone willing to see them as they really are. Marcus felt his throat tighten. They just needed someone to listen. No, Sophia said firmly. We needed someone who cared enough to hear what we weren't saying. As Marcus walked home that evening, photo tucked carefully under his arm, he thought about the strange journey that had brought him here. He was still a janitor. He still struggled to make ends meet. But he'd learned something valuable, that the size of your paycheck doesn't determine the size of your impact. That sometimes the person nobody notices is exactly the person someone needs. And in a world obsessed with credentials and status, that was everything.